Tonight, a heated exchange has reignited concerns over national security and the handling of sensitive military discussions. Senator Mark Warner sharply questioned senior Trump-era officials, Tulsi Gabbard, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and FBI Director Kash Patel, over the use of encrypted messaging apps to discuss Yemen war plans. At the center of the controversy, whether operational details were improperly shared on Signal, whether classified information was involved, and whether accountability standards are being unevenly applied. The confrontation raised urgent questions about transparency, protocol, and the protection of American lives.
Chairman, I'll be happy to take your extra 13 seconds, but I want to go back to what I addressed at the outset. I mean, this was not only sloppy, it not only violated all procedures, but if this information had gotten out, American lives could have been lost. The Houthis had this information, could reposition their defensive systems. So I want to get a little more information about this. Director Gabbard, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not, are you denying? Will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat?
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the
Why
specifics.
are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security Council.
Because it's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
As the White House previously stated,
is it classified or non-classified information on this text?
I can confirm.
Director Ratcliffe, were you on the group chat?
Senator, I was on a Signal messaging group.
So you were the John Ratcliffe on that chat?
I was.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I provide some context, Senator, to that?
Yes, but I've got a series of questions.
Well, but I think it's important because at the outset you made a couple of comments about Signal messaging using encrypted apps. So that we're clear, one of the first things that happened when I was confirmed as CIA director was Signal was loaded onto my computer at the CIA, as it is for most CIA officers. One of the things that I was briefed on very early, Senator, was by the CIA records management folks about the use of Signal as a permissible work use. It is. That is a practice that preceded the current administration to the Biden administration.
Director Ratcliffe, I've got a series of questions. If you're making the statement, making the statement, the Signal is a secure channel.
No, can I answer that? It is.
I've got a series of
encryption. So
it is. I understand encryption.
It is permissible to use to communicate and coordinate for work purposes, provided, Senator, that any decisions that are made are also recorded through formal channels. Right. So those were procedures that were implemented. My staff implemented those processes, followed those processes, complied with those processes, and finally, just please. So my communications, to be clear, in a Signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful, and did not include classified information.
Well, we will make that determination, because if it's not classified, share the text with the committee. Let me go on. Director Gabbard, you are the security executive and set access guidelines for classified information. Did you contact the defense secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a SCIF?
There was no classified material that was shared in that.
So then if there was no classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the question. If this was Director Gabbard, if this was a rank and file intelligence officer who did this kind of careless behavior, what would you do with them?
Senator, I'll reiterate that there was no classified material that was shared in that.
And if there's no classified materials, share. And then if there's no classified materials, then you can't even answer the question, whether you're on the chat. This is strangely familiar, and I think my colleagues will remember, when you couldn't answer the question, is Edward Snowden a traitor? Man, I have serious doubts about your, anyway. Director Gabbard, I'm going to give you this. Tweeted just 11 days ago, and I'm quoting you. Any unauthorized release of classified information is a violation of the law and will be treated as such. So if this information is classified, what are you going to do?
Senator, 2 points here. First of all, there's a difference between inadvertent release versus
careless and sloppy,
malicious leaks of classified information. The second point is there was no classified information that was on
the information
signal
committee should get that information. Director
and the
Patel,
National Security
Director
Council
Patel, my time's about out, and I'm going to use my 12 seconds that the chairman gave me. Director Patel, has the FBI launched any investigation of this?
Senator, I was just briefed about it late last night, this morning. I don't have an update.
I would like to get an answer by the end of the day.
As an analyst, this hearing reveals 3 critical fault lines in U.S. national security governance: process discipline, accountability, and credibility. Senator Mark Warner's strategy. Senator Warner's approach was prosecutorial rather than exploratory. He wasn't seeking new facts, he was highlighting contradictions. His repeated demand was simple. If the information isn't classified, release it. By circling this point, Warner exposed what he sees as institutional evasiveness. His argument hinges on a fundamental security principle: intent does not negate risk. Even if information is unclassified, discussing real-time or near real-time military planning outside secure facilities can create operational vulnerabilities, especially against adversaries like the Houthis, who actively monitor U.S. communications leaks. Warner's comparison to rank-and-file intelligence officers was deliberate. It framed the issue as one of double standards: senior officials seemingly protected by ambiguity, while junior officers would face immediate consequences. Tulsi Gabbard's position. Director Gabbard's refusal to confirm whether she was part of the Signal chat was the most politically damaging moment of the hearing. From an analytical standpoint, this is less about classification and more about oversight norms. As the security executive responsible for access guidelines, her unwillingness to answer a yes or no question undermines confidence in civilian control mechanisms. Her defense relied entirely on the claim that no classified information was shared, but she did not address whether the setting itself was appropriate for military planning discussions. In Washington, perception matters, and her answers came across as defensive rather than clarifying, which fueled suspicion instead of resolving it. John Ratcliffe's defense. Ratcliffe took a more structured approach. He acknowledged participation in the Signal group and leaned heavily on institutional precedent. Signal is authorized. It's used across administrations. Records management protocols were followed. No classified information was shared. This was the strongest technical defense presented. However, it also revealed a deeper issue: policy lagging behind operational reality. Just because a tool is permissible does not mean it's appropriate for every context, especially discussions involving military coordination. Ratcliffe defended legality, not judgment, and Warner was questioning judgment. Kash Patel and the FBI angle. FBI Director Kash Patel's brief response confirmed the most consequential development: the matter is now on the FBI's radar. Even without a formal investigation announced, that acknowledgement signals potential escalation. Congressional pressure often precedes institutional action, and Warner clearly intends to force either disclosure or accountability. This hearing wasn't just about Signal or Yemen, it was about trust. Trust that senior officials follow the same rules they enforce. Trust that national security decisions aren't blurred by convenience. Trust that oversight still functions when power is concentrated. The unresolved contradiction, not classified, but not shareable, is what keeps this story alive. Until that gap is closed, politically or legally, this issue will continue to dominate national security debates.